The idea of an encore gives the women some light that our time is not over and we should
Mm,
not roll up the red carpet quite yet because our story's
yeah,
not done.
I love that. That is an excerpt from the conversation that you will hear with Cindy Feierstein, the creator and host of Beyond the Glass Slipper podcast, where she encourages women to redefine aging, reframe life's challenges, and step into their next chapter that she has coined the Encore, which means to live with greater intention, purpose, and curiosity. Cindy is a certified speech pathologist with more than 16 years of clinical experience, specializing in adult cognitive rehabilitation. She combines neuroscience, cognitive wellness, and intentional life design to help women strengthen their brains while building lives they truly love. She is also a certified Jay Shetty life and success coach, a lifelong learner who is passionate about translating complex brain science into practical, everyday strategies that anyone can use. Through her podcast and upcoming programs, Cindy's mission is simple: help women discover that you're never too old and it's never too late to write an extraordinary next chapter. And Cindy proves that because at 68, she launched her podcast and is not slowing down, but creating greater impact and living her life with her own curiosity and sharing her wisdom, knowledge, compassion, and humor, which you will hear. Cindy shares what it's like to overcome life-altering moments and how to keep moving forward. You will learn so much about living your life with purpose, and she will remind you that this can be the greatest season of your life. This is the Red Low Woman podcast, and I am so glad you're here today. You won't want to miss this episode. Grab your warm cup of coffee, or maybe put on those tennis shoes, and let's step forward together. Let's go. Welcome back to the Red Low Women podcast. I am so excited for my guest today. We have so much in common, and you are just going to be greatly blessed with this conversation and who Cindy is. We actually met through coaching. She found me online. She needed help moving her podcast from in studio to doing it herself. And now she's just rocking her podcast called Beyond the Glass Slipper, which I mentioned in the intro. And I'm just so excited today to have you here today, Cindy. Thank you so much for saying yes and for coming on and
Um,
sharing who you are. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm thrilled to be here, and yeah, you've been wonderful to work with in so many ways, and you've been so encouraging. So I thank you. I thank you not only for this opportunity, but coming into my life and providing me with all the know-how and teaching me how to use Riverside, because it truly has been wonderful. I've had my challenges, but working through them, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if it weren't for you, Terry. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And you're doing such a great job. You're so savvy with technology too. You don't give
Oh,
yourself enough credit, but you figured
not
it out and
according to
kind of
my
just
grandkids.
I know we were just talking about that before we hit record, and I
Right.
just was dying laughing. That was hilarious. Share the story just quickly about, because I
Well,
said you've got to be the hip grandma, and
yeah,
you said not
and I'm
exactly.
really not. I get the eye rolls, and when they come to my house, it's like, "Ugh, Grandma, just like talking to the remote, like." And then I'll ask them a question about something, and they'll be like, "Search it up, Grandma," and they're not snotty kids. It's just the environment in which they're living in. It's just everything is search it up, and they've got this, and yeah. So I could go on and on and on about my stories and help and having my at the time she was 11 years old, my 11-year-old granddaughter. We went out and we did a business lunch. I couldn't help, I took a picture of us because there we are working, and she's helping me with posting some things on Instagram, and it was hysterical. So it was
That
like her first business lunch. She was 11 years old.
that's awesome, and I love to tell the story just quickly about
Yeah.
the pencil. I thought that was
Oh, okay. So,
hilarious.
and this is actually going back a few years ago when you asked me if my grandchildren thought I was cool. It's like, yeah, based on some of the questions they asked me, I'm thinking not. But the question was, Grandma, when you went to school, did you have pencils?
I thought,
It's like, yeah, no, no, no. We wrote on, we wrote on the chalkboards. We wrote on the
uh,
slates. Yeah,
oh,
whatever.
that
So
killed
yeah,
me.
it's kind of funny. Out of the mouth of babes. You're gonna love
Oh,
being a grandmother, Terry, and you're probably gonna be so good
oh.
at it. You're gonna love it.
Well, thank you. Well, I was just dying because I was like, "Oh my gosh, here we are in this season of life and the way our kids and our grandchildren perceive us, it's just so funny." So that was
Oh,
that was
it's
amazing. I
they
loved it.
have they
Thank you
have
for
all
sharing.
the answers, all the
Yeah.
answers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, one of the things, I mean, as people can just see, you are so warm, you
Oh,
are
thank you.
brilliant, you are highly educated. You just exude, what women are in this season of life. You're a very deep soul, you're curious, you're compassionate.
Oh, thank you.
So you're welcome. So for my audience, describe Cynthia Feierstein.
Okay.
And tell us who you are. And I call her Cindy. As one of the things she says is, "Call me Cindy if you're my friend." So there we go.
Right, exactly.
Um,
Well, thank you for such an intro. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see who I am. I like to think of myself as a kind and considerate person, and I love to continue learning and taking what I learn and not trying to teach people, but trying to encourage them to find their path. And it's interesting because I've been a continued work in progress, is the way I feel about myself, because I was always and trained by a very young age is that you don't stop. I mean, you don't stop throughout your whole day. My mother was a worker bee all her life, and I became a worker bee and never slowed down till about 10 o'clock at night. And I bring that up in the context of the fact is that I'm always going and I'm always fixing. I was the fixer in my family. I made peace for everybody around me, and I'm trying to kind of reframe things a little bit. And what I've learned the hard way is that it's really not good to try and teach individuals or women or your daughter or your grandchildren, but rather either, try to be a role model for them, but also let them ask questions, be curious, and let
mm,
them figure out things for themselves. Because if we don't let them figure out things for themselves, they don't really ever build skills. And that's where they become dependent people on other people to give them the answers and to look outside themselves for validation when in reality, so many of us, especially women of our age, we have the answers based on all the experience. And from that experience is where we've accumulated all the wisdom that we have today. And we don't necessarily have to fix things for people. So I'm in a
mm,
stage of life where I am truly learning that it is not good to fix things for individuals. And while it may tug at your heartstrings that, oh my God, I could just go in there and just fix things. I have the answers, but it's more important that everyone gets their own answers. So I'm kind of a work in progress. And the only thing that makes me a little bit sad about this is that why didn't I have the opportunity to know all of this stuff earlier? And
mm,
it's not like I can share it with the younger generations because everybody needs to have their own experiences.
mm,
They're going to maybe see things from a different lens or through a different lens by some of the things you share, but they have to experience things or else they don't really take it in the way they need to and have that become a part of them.
mm. I
So
love that so much, and I can really relate to that personally, and I think that's what makes you just a great individual
thank
and,
you.
a coach. Those are we always think we have to show up as, and have all the answers, and certainly we're teaching people how to do certain things, but, coaching and guiding people really is listening. I was thinking about this in my own life with my adult children. I said the other day, "It's so hard to be the mom of an adult child because
Yeah.
you kn
Huge.
right? Like, you know the answer, and you gotta kinda show up in a way and say, "Well, this is my experience, but basically, I trust you to make the decision for your life."
You do, and it's
Right?
so hard
So
because
hard.
it's like when do you shut off the mode of I'm the mother and I'm going to teach you because that's my role to I'm still your mother, but I should no longer be teaching you, and just hope that I gave you enough of a foundation. And that's where I think a lot of women start to see and start to feel a little guilty that I think that I know there are things I could have done better with raising my daughter. I mean, she's a great human being, but when she doesn't have something figured out that I have figured out, it's like, oh my God, why did I not think that was important to push that more? And some of that comes from my upbringing with my mom, quite honestly. My mom was very, very strict, and she
Mm,
ruled the roost, and she was very
mm,
much a perfectionist. And so I've had to work through some of those childhood wounds, if you will. But I made the decision, when I have a child, I'm never going to demand of my daughter certain things. And now, years later, I'm saying, oh my God, the wealth of information that I gained and knowledge from my mother is priceless, and
mm,
it's stuff that I chose not to share with my daughter. I mean, just little things. I mean, my daughter's figured most of the things out that she needs to, but it's interesting how that switch from being the
yeah.
teacher to now having to let those reins go and just be there and love unconditionally, and not put your 2 cents in. I think that loving unconditionally is about putting your 2 cents in, but that's wrong. I mean, it's not right.
Mm, yeah. It's hard. It's
It's
really,
really
really hard.
hard.
Um, I mean, you've been through some really hard things. Kind of speaking of just kind of your childhood and just your relationships and your path. Um, and I know a lot about you, and I was kind of going back and kind of rereading some things, and share what you want about that, with what you've been through, what's kind of helped you with where you are now and what you're doing. And we'll talk a little bit about your career too, because it's just been, I mean, you're fascinating. You've got such
Oh,
depth.
thank
So share a
you.
little bit about some
Thank
of the
you.
hard things, that you've been through and you've overcome, and what's really helped you and helped guide you forward to where you are.
I think what has helped me guide me forward is the fact that I'm so grateful. And I could remember saying to my late husband, I lost my husband, he was 59 years old. He was 13 years my senior, and I was
Wow.
46 at the time when he passed. It's that story. The 59-year-old goes to the cardiologist on Wednesday, and everything is great and wonderful. And on Friday, he drops dead of a heart arrhythmia. And he was
Wow.
in the company of 2 orthopedic surgeons and a nurse when he went down. So he was in the best hands possible. They did CPR and they did defibrillators, but they told me that he had a gash in his head. And when I looked at it, it was even more upsetting to see him with the gash. And I was told by his best friend who was with him, he said by time he got that gash, he had hit his head, they think on the sink on the way down to the floor, that by the time he got that gash, he was already dead. So it was
Oh,
very sudden
wow.
is my point. And so I think what has gotten me through is being grateful. And I got off on a tangent there a little bit. Sorry. That what I would say to my late husband, his name was Mark, and I would say to him all the time, my life is kind of like a fairy tale. And I
Mhm.
live a little bit, I live with some anxiety that, what is going to, like, what did I do to deserve this? And what is going to be taken away from me one day? And
Oh, wow.
and never realizing that it was him. And it's just, again,
Wow.
being grateful for what I had and the opportunities I had. And, when you think that you're not worthy of some things, it helps.
Mm,
It's not a good place to be. I'm not saying it's a good
mm,
place to be, but it teaches you things that I should be grateful for what I had, and I had opportunities that a lot of other women didn't. And when I went to 2 different support groups after Mark passed away, and one was very large, and it was a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and all different stories, and there were male and females involved in that support group. And I didn't stay in that support group for very long because the stories were so hard to hear. The woman
Oh,
sitting next
wow.
to me who was battling cancer herself and finally got through it, and then her husband passes away. Or I can't tell you the countless stories that I've heard of husbands passing away, and the woman realizing that they should not have been living in the large house with the fancy cars because the money wasn't really there to support it, or they're now in debt from they owe money to the IRS, and this woman is left
Wow.
with having, so it's I don't know if that's fair to look at it that way, but I just would say, oh my God, I'm grieving, and everybody's path of grieving is different, and it takes different times, and it's not linear, and I've learned all that. But I have to tell you that, sitting there, it became difficult to go to
Yeah.
support groups, and it just made me count my blessings all that much more.
Mm,
I think,
mm,
living and being grateful is what got me through. And I was also brought up, to believe, and I don't know if this is true either, but it's in my belief system, is that things happen for a reason.
mm.
And it's the way I brought my daughter up, and she would tell you the same thing too if she were on this podcast. And things happen for a reason. We may not understand it. And I'll never understand why, a successful surgeon at the age of 59 was taken from us so suddenly. I have no idea why. I never understand, why parents lose their children. It's just not
Yeah.
natural progression to me, and something that
Yeah.
someone should never have to experience. So my heart goes out to them. So the bottom line is that we're all struggling. I mean, whether
Mm.
or not we admit it, whether or not we put on the happy face, or, post our lovely stories on social media that make it look like it's all wonderful, we're all
Yeah.
struggling with something, and it's just how we
Yeah.
choose to frame it in our lives, and sometimes reframing things. And yeah, do I wish Mark were still here today? Yeah, I do. It's going to be 22 years on October 8th that he's
Wow.
been gone. And, I
Wow.
came off vacation with my, stepson and his wife, who I'm very close with. And I'm grateful for my relationships with his
Mm.
sons, and that they include me in their life. And
Mm.
so it's all that gratefulness that I think is what
Yeah.
carries me through. And I'll tell you, what Mark taught me in life is that it was so interesting. He was a step dad to my daughter, and I married him when my daughter was 5 years old. And
Oh, wow.
my first marriage, I married my eighth grade crush, believe it or
Oh,
not.
wow.
We just got
Wow.
married too young. I mean, we were, he was 4 years older than me. He pushed to get married, and I agreed, and that was fine. I did think I loved him at that time, but it was that puppy love, and we
Yeah.
just grew apart. So I remarried when my daughter was 5 years old, and I got divorced when we were together 5 years into the marriage. We had my daughter at when she was 1 years old. It's like, no, we want different things
Mm.
out of life. And it was good because he went on to marry a wonderful woman, and he had a wonderful life with her, and it was just
Mm.
better suited for him and my second husband. So, but point being is that Ashley would do something, regular high school antics, although she was a really good kid. She'd come home and she would have failed the test. And he would find one ray of sunshine to focus on,
Mm.
one positive. He saw the positive in everybody,
Mm.
everyone, whether it was,
Mm.
it doesn't matter who the person was or what their background. So that
Mm.
also taught me to try and see the best you can, the good in everybody, because we all have the good in us. We may not get along with everybody or agree with everybody, but everybody's got a stroke of goodness. So it's kind of focusing on the positive. And I don't mean to sound like Pollyanna here, but
No, it's
you have,
good.
and you have negative things, and you go through those points, and there's days that I'm down, and there's days that I wish there were things that played out differently, but they didn't. So I think focusing on the things that we can control, and learning
Mm.
to let go of the things that we can't, kind of taking things in stride. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
what I do. And my daughter, if she were here, she would tell you this is like nails on the chalkboard for her. And when I say to my grandkids, I think her blood pressure goes up a few points, is make things a non-issue. I mean, just like the
Uh,
little things in life, like
mm.
if you're gonna get in trouble for breaking this little rule. Why break it? If you know you're going to get whacked with a late payment, why be late? Again, I'm not perfect and I make my mistakes and I've paid late payments and I've done, I've had to do different things. But the bottom line is I try to live with that always in my mind,
Yeah.
make things a non-issue all the
Mm.
time. I mean, as much as you
As-
possibly can. And believe me, I'm not always happy, and I get in a slump, and I've had my heart break and had to work through that. But I'm thankful I was given the wherewithal to research things and explore
Mhm.
things, be curious about things, and that's kind of the word and that I want to get out there is yeah, we all need to be a little more curious and kinder to ourselves along the way. And
Mm.
everybody talks about loving yourself, but just just try to, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend.
Mm. I
Opposed to
love
calling
that.
yourself an idiot, just say, "Yeah, no, you know what? It's okay. This is all right." Because you wouldn't say to your friend, "You're an idiot." Like,
Right.
honestly, like, "Oh my god, you're such an idiot for doing that." Okay, well, then why would I say that to myself? So maybe it's like, what would I say to my friend? Because
Right.
let's be a friend to ourselves.
I love that. This
Yeah.
is what I mean by there's so much depth to you. You have you've had, many careers, which many of us have, right? All women that kind of get to this season of life. We've had our lives have taken many different paths, like you shared for one reason or another. And you are just a wonderful example of all of this. And you say that your podcast, which is Beyond the Glass Slipper, is your sixth and perhaps your final encore, which I just
Yeah.
love. Describe what shaped your decision to do a podcast and in this season of life, and kind of share a little bit about what it's about. So, share that with the audience because I just love it. I love what you're doing, and I love the audience that you are
Yeah.
speaking to, because I know it's been both great and really challenging to do it, and you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
So share a little bit about that, kind of how you arrived at it and why you're doing it,
Sure.
and what this season of life really means to you. And because you and I both have very similar audiences, that's how I think we connect so much. We're speaking to women in this season of life, and so share a little bit about that.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you for asking. It's a great question. What got me started? I've always been restless. I did uh, actually retire in August of 2023. So it'll be 3 years that I've been retired
Wow.
from my profession as a speech language pathologist working with adult patients with neurological disorders. And I loved my patients that had the mild cognitive impairment because
Mm,
I felt as though I could really make a difference in their lives. And prior to that, I worked more in a medical setting. So I've always been very busy throughout all of my careers and always worked full time. And I was restless. I mean, I was restless
mm,
and thinking about some ideas, and I had some ideas, coming down the pike because I always have ideas. I should never take a shower again because I come up with so many ideas, and it sends me off in another. Talk about having some ADD here. Yeah, probably so. I don't know. Never been formally diagnosed, but I would imagine I do. So it was a combination of things. I finally left and officially retired, and for a year was really loving life and my grandkids. I was in a relationship at that time, and I was ready to retire. I don't know that I would have quite retired that early, but this opportunity presented itself, and so I was really enjoying life very much, and that took a sudden turn and ended rather abruptly. And again, that's for the better as well. But it was heartbreaking, I will admit,
mhm,
and I learned a whole lot about things and relationships. I was lucky to have a pretty solid marriage, and well, that ended abruptly as well. And along the way, I did whatever I did, but then, I thought I was in this relationship for the long haul. I started to do a lot of research, not only research
mm,
on how to heal. I was looking for answers as to how could this have happened, quite honestly? How could it
Mhm.
have gone the way it did? What was my responsibility in this happening?
Mhm.
And I wasn't ready to get back out there. I know that I want to be in a relationship someday. I'm still not. It will be 2 years next week
Mm.
that that relationship ended, and I am done a little bit of dating here and there, but first I wasn't ready, and then
Yeah.
you know, I felt like, you know, I don't want a relationship just to get over him. I want a
Yeah.
relationship that's going to go the distance. And if whatever role I played, I need to work through some of those things to ensure, again, there's no guarantees that they're not going to happen again. And maybe I need to pick differently, and maybe I need to be more aware of some things that might not have caused it to end the way that it did. So I took the time and I started doing a lot of research, and I started
Mhm.
listening to Jillian Turecki and all the other relationship gurus that are out there today. And, it's interesting, Terry, because there are so many programs like Get Over Your Heartbreak and, a weekend retreat or 7 days. And it's like, my message to ladies are today is, everybody's grieving process is, again, I'm repeating myself from a little bit earlier.
Yep.
It's different, and it's not linear, and you're going to have your ups and downs. And one day you're going to think that you are over this, and then something's just going to come over you like a tidal wave that's going to
Yeah.
make you realize that there are some things that either need to be addressed or they need to be put in perspective at least. So I started doing a lot of research and a lot of reading, and I love to write. So I poured into my writing and poured into figuring things out. And along the way, what I realized is, again, and I think I alluded to this earlier too, that the breakup happened when I was 66. I'm now 68. And
Wait, hold on. You're 68. You look amazing, Cindy.
thank you.
Are you
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, you look
1958 is
incredible.
my birthday. I'm, yeah, 68 years old. And so it happened when I was 66. And the only thing that made me sad, well, there were a few things that made me sad, but one of the biggest things was like, oh my God, Cindy, I was married twice for a total that would equal like 27 years, I guess. And then
Mhm.
I've been single for another, I mean, it's 47 years of my life, but, and
Yeah.
the, why didn't I, why wasn't I astute, or why wasn't I aware? Like, I was learning so much that I'm
Mhm.
thinking, okay, I don't want to go out and teach women, but I want to share my experience and not the details of my relationship and put it out there for all the world to see. That's not what I want to do. Or, who's the victim, who is the villain. We all take roles and responsibilities, and what happened. But point being is, I want to share the fact that and there's, with the whole gray divorce phenomenon going on, with
Yes.
just the increased number of
Yeah.
people ending marriages because they're realizing that there's more to life. And I'm not advocating that you end a marriage after 40 some years because you think the grass is greener. I'm not advocating anything. You do what you need to do, what works for you. But if you get there, there are some things you may want to look at, and maybe question before breaking up that marriage, or just, again, just being the facilitator, if you will,
Mhm.
or the
Mhm.
exporter, I don't know the right word here, of the
Yeah.
information, get that out there and let women make the choices for them. So my brain really started going. And I actually, this was about a week before the relationship ended. I went to a happy hour with some friends, some girlfriends that I had met. And I didn't know all of them. I knew there were 9 women, and I knew, I think, about 3 or 4 of them. And
Mhm.
I walked in, and not only did this woman pay me an incredibly, probably the most wonderful compliment I've ever got in my life, and it made
Mm.
me feel really good. And that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that I walked in, and it was interesting because we were taking up like the corner end of the bar. I walked in and I, just, checked out the women said hello to the women I knew and was introduced to the women that I didn't. But my first reaction was, oh my God, look at these 9 women and look at the amount of wisdom that is, sitting at this bar is just incredible. And I
Mm.
thought the concept would be that we would kind of do a podcast. It came to mind, well, wouldn't it be great if we can get these women that would be willing to share their stories? Because as we all
Yeah.
know, and it's rooted in neuroscience, that stories are the way we learn as we get older. And it's a great way to, pass along a lot of good information. So that's what first came out, was that idea with 9 women. And I spoke with 3 others about it, and maybe 4, maybe 6 others about it, but 3 others were really very interested in doing it. And the 4 of us got together, and we were from 4 really different walks of life, all
Mm.
well educated. One of them had a PhD, and um, but we were all, really competent in our line of work. So we started off with 4 of us, and then there was a little bit of a falling out, and 2 of them pulled away, which was fine. Or maybe we pulled away. I don't even remember who pulled away, but we were left with 2. And I was continuing on, and it was such a great partnership because of my cognitive background and my
Mhm.
experiences of life. And she was a psychologist. She's in private practice in New York
Ah.
City. And it was, oh my God, we're going to talk about, cognitive wellness and mental health on this podcast. It's going to be great. And we're both experts in what we do. And isn't this wonderful? So we started working together, and we recorded about 3 or 4 episodes in a studio, and it was going well, but we hit a wall when it just became difficult in so many ways. Of actually, we had a lot of great information, but how to package it and how to get it out,
Mm.
it's not so easy that you just pick up a microphone and start talking. But there's been a lot of successful podcasters that do that. We were not 2 of them. So we hit some struggles. Her, practice was very demanding, and she's excellent at what she does. And she's still a dear friend today. So we decided to part ways. And I
Mm.
said, I'm not going to let this go. And it's interesting, the name I wanted, the glass slipper.
Mm.
And she said to me, what about beyond the glass slipper?
Mm.
On the glass slipper. So here we are. That's how the name came about, and it's, to dispel myths, societal myths that we've grown up with. And it's not, Prince Charming's going to come into our lives and just sweep us away. And it's become more than just that focus. And I'm
Yeah.
taking it even more into just the importance of cognitive stimulation as we get older. There's so much about dementia out there today, and so many women are afraid of it, and just providing individuals with information so that they could
Yeah.
make some informed and best decisions for themselves. But the woman that was my partner, her name is Dr. Erin Walker. She would always say this, and I've repeated this in my podcast, is the fact that people will say, if you have your health, you have everything. Your health is
Mm.
everything. And she would always say, yeah, if you have your mental health, you have everything. And
Mm.
with my dad, who had his health, but he had Alzheimer's for 7 or 8
Oh,
years.
wow.
And for 1 year, I took off of work to help my mom to become a primary caregiver. And what I learned through that is, he was a happy Alzheimer's patient. He didn't care where we were going as long as we were going, and
Oh,
he was having a great time every day. And we kept him really happy by taking him out
wow.
and doing things. But the point being is that his life wasn't rooted in reality.
Yeah.
And his quality of life was the best that it could be, but it's not the way you or I, having, solid
Yeah.
brains to work with right now. So my message is more about, at this age, we want to be making decisions, and smart decisions. Well, we always want to be making smart decisions no matter the age,
Yeah.
but at this age, make decisions that are going to work well for us, are going to allow us to achieve things, and that we shouldn't allow a number to slow us
Yeah.
down. Like, we
Mm.
could do whatever we want. So that's the essence. But got off a little tangent there. Sorry, Terry.
No, it's
But
okay. It's good.
the point being is that what led me here was, the breakup. If I were still in that relationship and we were able to work things out, which we weren't, Would I be doing this? I have no idea how that would have gone.
Mm,
No one can, tell that route because we were focused on doing other things. But it gave me this opportunity to do something that I'm really loving, and where it goes and where I take it, we'll see. I am committed to it. I started on April 1st. I will go till next April 1st. And at that point, I'll reevaluate and see what kind of audience I built and looking
yeah.
at building programs. I am launching, again, I'm going more into the cognitive piece, and I am
Yeah.
launching a group of exercises. Well, the first exercise, I'm calling them brain sparks. So, people
Mm,
don't like to think that they're doing exercise. So just, provide yourself with some brain sparks, a few minutes every day. I'll include you
mm,
in the form
I
if
love
anyone's
it.
interested. And it's a
Yeah.
simple exercise. It's a way of providing stimulation to several networks in our brain, and to learn compensatory strategies along the way and be more intentional and mindful of what we're doing. So we'll see where it goes. But that's what got me started, and now I'm just seeing so many opportunities, and there's so much
Mm,
about cognitive reserve and brain
yeah.
reserve and brain maintenance that a, a lot of women aren't aware of, and men too,
Yeah.
but focuses
Yeah.
really more women and getting the message out even at our age. Have the conversation with your doctor about hormones. And I'm not going to tell you where to go. I'm not a doctor, but your medical professional can hopefully help you with some of these things that we're struggling with. Yeah, this can be the most exciting chapter of our lives because
Mm,
of all the things that we've learned and all the
right.
people that we've helped along the way. Now it's okay to take a little bit of a step back and want to see what works for us, and
Mm,
keep what we want to modify, what we want to maybe delete from our lives. And
yeah.
there's no reason that if we keep our mental health intact as well as our physical health, and we do all the things that we're supposed to, genetics still play a component, and we can all be gone tomorrow for sure. Not only from medical illness, from accidents and whatever. But
Yeah.
point being is that taking this time that we have to look back on everything we have to be grateful for, but don't let us stop us because we
Mm.
think that we're too old to do anything.
I love that. And I love it too, Cindy, because I think your background with all the, studying and understanding cognitive behavior and how it affects us, especially, I mean, along our journey in life, but especially at this season of life. I love that. Is that part of what your encore is? Like, share a little bit about that because there's kind of
Sure.
two components to that. And I'm definitely going to follow along on your challenge, by the way. I think that's
Thank
super
you.
cool. I
Yay.
love it that you're
Yay. I
diving
got
into
one
that.
person. It was so funny yesterday. I'm thinking, oh my God, suppose nobody signs up for this challenge. I don't know. I can recruit my daughter, some of my golf girlfriends. Come on, ladies.
Absolutely.
This is really, it's good stuff. And, nobody really knows
Yeah.
what a speech language pathologist does. They just think we straighten out your R's, your L's, and your S's. But it goes for, we do everything, whatever. I think we were given a lot of jobs in our scope of
Mm,
practice that no other discipline wanted, including the
mm,
neuropsychologists. They did not want to be doing the therapy that we do for cognitively impaired people. But anyway, the encore started as I had written an article. This is going back probably 2 or 3 years ago. And I had started doing some blogging under, I think it was called Refresh or something like that. It was basically
mhm,
taking, I'd done some research on the word retirement, and there's a
mm,
lot of negative thoughts that hang on to retirement. There are people that feel that they're never going to be ready for retirement because they didn't financially prepare well. And so it's kind of thorn in their side more than a positive thing. They're
mm.
not going to be taking those trips that other people talk about taking in their retirement. And then there are those that, their identity has been so much attached to their business card that they don't
Yeah.
know who they are in this stage of life called retirement. So
Right.
it has been documented that there are negative thoughts attached to the word retirement. And I came up with this idea, and I wrote a blog about how the fact that we should retire the word retirement. It should
Oh, I
be
love
put
that.
into retirement, and that should be the end of it. And
Yeah.
then I thought about, well, what word would replace it? And I'm thinking, okay, this is the time where you stand up for yourself and you applaud, what you've done in your life, but your life is not over. It's not your final curtain. It's not your final bow. It's time to embrace everything that you've every thought you've ever had,
Yeah.
embrace everything that you've ever wanted to do, and put a plan into action, whether it's taking a bridge class. Because I mean, I've known women, and again, these came out of real stories of meeting women of, oh my God, bridge at my age. Oh, I should have learned it years ago. I'm too old. There's a group of women that are my age, but they've been playing for 20 years. I can't
Mm.
learn bridge. Well, yes, you can learn bridge. And I went back and took bridge lessons, and I didn't have the most successful go of it. Quite honestly, once I started playing, because of the circle that I was in, and I'm not blaming them. I needed more instruction
Mm.
to be playing with those people. So I learned something from that, and bridge is something I want to get back to. But learn those games, or if you've always wanted to write a book, or
Mm.
if you wanted to, you always wanted to work. I heard this one story from a woman. She took a retail job at Macy's during the holiday season because she never worked retail. And
Oh, wow.
she wanted that experience of, I don't know, she saw herself at the Macy's at Herald Square behind those old counters where
Yeah.
you come around, and you show women, and you help advise them. I mean, she wanted to do that. So she did it. And it's
Oh,
great that she did. And you're hearing these people's the stories from, I'm the woman who always wanted to do this, so I'm doing it now,
yeah.
to the other end of the spectrum, to these women, well, oh my God, that she could do that, but I never could.
Mm.
Like, well, says who? We all start and we sit down and we take a class. I mean, so it's encouraging to women. The Encore is nothing more than encouraging the women to live the life, or live this chapter the
Mm.
way that, to fulfill your desires, your needs, your wants,
Mm.
whatever may be on the list for you. Now is the time to do it, because we don't want to be negative, but
Right.
there is an end for all of us. So why not live it? And when we're happy and fulfilled, we talk about being grandparents and parents of
Right.
older children, and we are worried about them from the day they're born till the day we die. Hopefully that will be the progression. But we have to look at life a little bit from the way they see us. And if
Mm.
we're not thriving and we're not living
So
a
true.
happy life, our children are, it's placing extra stress on their lives. So when we become a
For sure.
better person for us, we become a better person for everybody in our community and our family, community, including the family and friends and all that. Because if your friends know that eh, that you're going through a hard time, you know, they want to be there, and they're going to support you. And I want to support any friend that's going through a hard time. But life is just, it's much easier when we're, our big, we have champagne problems. We're not
Mm.
sure what nail color to get the next time we get our petty mani, and
Yeah.
we're not sure what we should wear when we're going to meet the ladies for our next brunch. I mean, those are wonderful problems to have.
Mm.
And again, we can't escape the problems and the grief and everything we're going to feel. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping the idea of an encore gives the women some light, that our time is not over, and we should
Mm.
not roll up the red carpet quite yet, because our story's
Yeah.
not done.
I love that. And it's interesting because I grew up in a family where my grandfather had his restaurant business, I mean, for over 50 years. He didn't sell it until he was 90. And I remember saying to him, "Why are you still doing this?" And he said, "What else would I want to do, Terry? I love this. This brings me so much joy."
Yeah,
And so that's always been in my soul, and I saw it. I saw that lived out, and so that's kinda always been where I am, and I love your point of, and I've seen it in my own life with your kids, they want us to be happy.
they
They want us
do.
thriving. They want us traveling and
They
enjoying
don't
our
want us, they
life.
really don't want us worrying about them. That just
No,
adds more
that's
stress
exactly
to
right.
their lives.
Yeah,
Even though we
so
show our
true.
loving sometimes through caring, they're like, I'd rather you not care. Because
Ah,
it's stressful. I mean, I don't, my daughter doesn't really say that, although I know that's what she thinks. But, she wants me to be happy. She tells me all the time,
right.
Mom, you did not come to Florida to be my nanny, but do I still help her with, I mean, I have to beg my daughter, like, Ash, really, Ash, you need help? No, Mom, I'm good. I'm good. And her staff tells me the same thing. that's what she's no, they offer to help, do things over and
Uh,
above, and they do things over and above her. She has a wonderful staff, and she's very fortunate in that, but they tell me the same things, so she
uh,
is who she is, and I think I had something to do with her being a little bit
yeah.
independent. My Aunt Emma, when I complain about my daughter being too independent, my Aunt Emma, who is 99 years old as of July 19th, and she will
Wow.
say to me, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She kind of,
Mm,
you know, reels me back
puts it
in a
back.
little bit,
Yeah,
but yeah. So
it's
I've
so
got some
true.
great roots. I've got, you know what? I've got mom lived to 94, dad lived to
Wow.
92, very involved in their lives. I have no regret all the time that I in support that I've given them. So now it really is time. Well, there's still, some grandkids that have to get through the teenage years, and one of them just got her permit for driving, and
Wow.
so there's scary times potentially ahead, but again, we want to carve out as many as and build as many precious memories as we can, and
Yeah. Yep.
savor the memories. So the encore is
Yeah.
all about doing what it is that we really want to do in this chapter of life, and
Mm,
we don't have to quit working. We don't have to do a lot of things. We can do whatever it is that we want. So just
right.
encouragement for women to do just that.
Well, and I love that, and I think that probably ties in even to my next question is that, for those listening in that are in this season of life, like what are the takeaways that you would tell them? I say the same thing, like don't be afraid, just step forward. I mean, we're doing it and we're living longer, right? So, what's the worst thing that can happen? Go write the book, start the podcast, start a coaching, whatever it is that you want, travel if that's what you want to do, but go for it. And it's true. I think I tell my kids all the time, like, I think the thing with our kids, they do want us happy. And even though they might joke, they may or may not want us to show up. But if they didn't, they have parents that show up for them. If they didn't, they don't know what that's like to not have that, which has always been a value that I've had. But they also want us to be really happy. And I think they love it that we're doing these things. We're learning
Um,
AI. We're
oh my
coaching,
God.
we're on the internet. We're doing right.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm proud of that. I mean, and we're still young enough to be able to do all these things. And I think it's a wonderful time in history to be able to have this opportunity to do it faster than ever we could ever do before. Women have opportunities that they didn't have. And I say all the time, midlife women are leading the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
72% of women, I think, are coaches or something like that. It's crazy. So anyway, on that note, with what you do, what is it that you want women in this age to know? And then also how can they work with you?
Okay. So what I want them to know again is that life is like a smorgasbord, if you will, or
Yeah,
you can pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and that you don't need anyone's permission. I mean, our children are no longer coming to us for permission to do anything. Like, who
right.
are we waiting? Maybe if you're in a relationship, of course, I'm not saying don't discuss things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for you yourself as your own person, you need to
Yeah,
decide what works and what doesn't work, and that you don't need to apologize for things that you're doing for yourself, and you don't need permission. So, my goodness, when have we ever been more free? And
right.
if we're attached to children and friends, if it's not working for you, you need to take a look at that, and maybe not so much eliminate, but you need to rework and make that be palatable for you, whatever those negative things are. But we have the freedom to do that. I mean, if you're single, and you want to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for dinner, I mean, who's stopping you? And I don't tend to eat carbs, but every once in a while, I love that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I want to encourage women that we want to take care of ourselves, and we want to make good decisions in our life, and we want to do research, and we don't want to be dragged around by the nose that this is the newest biggest trend and we should go here and there. Do what works for you, whatever that may be, without having to get permission or having to apologize. for any decisions you make for yourself. I mean, I'm not talking about hurting people. I think you get what I'm talking about in the
Yeah.
realm of things that we're
Right.
talking about here. And how to work with me right now is to please go on my website at www.beyondtheglassslipper.com and join the Encore Women's Circle. I'm hoping to launch in the next couple months a 12-week intentional life design. It's
Mm,
it's called the Encore Legacy Experience, and it's based on an intentional life design and just how being more intentional in life, it kind of slows us down a little bit. It slows down our day a little bit. I should only follow my own advice, but for right now, I'm still learning myself. And all the things that I'm recommending, pick and choose what works for you. And I can tell you that it is all rooted in neuroscience. There is
mm,
research behind if I'm suggesting that we start our day and do something. And and some of my suggestions aren't so far off from what we're all hearing today of what we need to do, and don't let the technology overcome us.
mm.
Yeah, I should follow my own advice on that one. So how they can work with me for right now is joining the Encore Women's Circle. So that's the ways you can get involved right now. Follow me on Instagram, Beyond the Glass Slipper, and just
Listen to your
join the
podcast.
conversation. And also, yes, thank you. And Terry, honestly, there are two different ways to really get involved, and whether, like yourself, you're an expert at what you do. So if you have an expertise in the area and the way I'm talking to women, or if not even the way I'm talking to women, but if you're looking to target women 55 and older, and there's something you'd like to say to them, I have the Encore Expert Series, which is having experts like yourself, psychologists, physicians, therapists, come on to the podcast and talk about their expertise on topics that are of interest to women in this age group. And then the other way is my shared stories series, which I think is kind of a little bit more of my favorite, only because it's take off our professional hats, and it's women like you and I that have life experiences that for whatever reason we're here today at our age. You wrote a book later in life.
Right.
Kudos to you, and that's wonderful. And so just sharing what that experience was like with my audience, because again, going back, and that neuroscience really supports this, is that when we're listening to a story, we're engaging and we're attending. So we've got part of our brains that are lighting up on that, and then we're relating, which is another thing that happens, and then we're hearing things from a different perspective, maybe a similar story about a tragedy in our lives, or maybe a
Right.
happy moment in our lives, but it's being spoken from somebody else's perspective based on their experience. And then all of a sudden we start to think, oh, wait a minute, you know, maybe I should reframe that. Maybe I should be
Mm,
thinking of this in another way. And maybe this is the way that I can feel better about this. Or maybe this
yeah.
is the way that maybe I shouldn't feel so happy about this. Maybe I should, so it helps to, I mean, this is the way we learn when we're older. And that's also been very well documented. So it helps people realize that they're not alone.
Mm,
And it's not that misery loves company. It's more the fact that, oh my goodness, she overcame that, or she,
yeah.
look at where her life is. I can do this too, that type
Yeah.
of thing. So it makes people realize that they probably have whatever it is they want to do, and they put their mind to it, they can probably do it. So stories are a great way. So I love the shared stories series,
Mm,
and I've met some wonderful, I have some guests coming up in the
yeah.
future. I have a couple from London that I can't wait to talk with them, because they're focused on retirement and what
Ah,
they have doing in their retirement. So the list of individuals I'm talking to, and some of the women I've met, the first letter I've ever got was from a woman in New Zealand sharing her story, and haven't been able to get her to come on the podcast yet, but I'm hoping that she will. So, like we start to stories resonate with other people,
yep.
and it's just such a wonderful way for people to get off their chest, out of their head, and
Yeah.
be heard and seen. And it's letting women know that they can be heard and seen in this environment. So I'm hoping, ultimately, my goal is to build a community of like-minded women
Mm,
who want to encourage one another and support each other, listen to each other. A lot of those things as women that we just learn to live without, because guess what? We're women and that's kind of our role.
Mm. I love this so much, and I think I mean, this is the blessing too of podcasting. It's the blessing of your podcast. I love you've had some amazing guests, and
Yeah.
um, we were talking before we even got on here. Social media has just kind of taken life in a whole different direction, and as much as
Yeah.
I love AI, it is too. And I think podcasts are here to stay. They're not going away. They're growing exponentially, and it's for
They
this
are.
reason. Like people get to come on and I find for myself, like I listen to my podcasts and those that I've helped launch them when I'm on my walks. Like it's my body relaxes. I'm in a completely different place. I connect, I relate. It's so different. And I think we forget that even hearing the human voice in that way, like the old times of like radio, it's
Yeah.
different. It's a
Yes.
different way
Yes.
for our nervous system, as you know. It's actually healthy. It
Yeah.
doesn't hurt our brain the way social media does. And we see ourselves in other people's stories. And I love your platform. I love what you're doing. I
Thank
love
you.
your guests that you have on. And I agree with you. I think learning from the professionals, which is what you're doing as well, and then also from other human stories. Like one of my
Stories.
favorite
Yeah.
Instagram people, speaking of social media, is Humans of New York. Just like learning from other people's stories, what people have been through. And I think today
Yeah.
more than ever, it matters. We're all going through hard things as you shared. And how do we get on the other side of that? How do we surround ourselves with people that have been through something and then overcome it and got on the other side? And um, so I love that. I love what you're doing. You've got kind of this wonderful dynamic. You've got your curiosity and your professional and medical background, and all that you are as a woman in this season of life. And
Thank
you're a writer that by trade. That's
thank
kind of I
you.
love that in your background. So
Yeah,
you're
I'm
able
not,
to,
I'm like
and a
I'm
speech
a pseudo
pathologist.
writer. I'm a wannabe writer. I'm a
Well,
wannabe writer. Yes,
well,
I'm
you're a
one.
beautiful writer, and you're a speech pathologist, which is, I think that's why you're such a good orator, so to speak. I mean, you really are so good, and it's a wonderful combination. So I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to women listening into your podcast. Please, everyone, I'll put all the links here in the show notes
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
join her community.
Yeah, I've had
Hey,
my,
we're all
my
there.
technological challenges, but whatever, working with Canva and the AI classes, like you mentioned, that I've been taking. And amazing. And again, from many women, I'm sure, Terry, you hear the same things. People, really, you're taking an AI class? And how many women feel as though technology has just passed them by and there's no way they're ever going
Yeah.
to catch up? My message to them is just take a simple class, at
Yeah.
least gain some knowledge. If you use it, you use it. If you don't, you don't. But you don't feel as much left out in the wilderness,
Right.
by this big bad AI bear that's going to get you.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. It's in everything. It's in every device we use. We're
It
not
is.
we're not going to escape it. And I tell
No.
everybody, if you can be afraid of it, you can bury your head in the sand, or you can get on board and learn about it and be educated, because
Yeah.
it's here to stay. It's not
Right.
going away. It's one of those revolutions in our history that here we are, right?
Exactly. It's just, yeah, it's just, the cordless
It's here
phone
we
is
are.
gone. I mean, look back in those days, where you had the wire that was, from the headset to the main, whatever you call it. And, I had to go around the bend out of my kitchen to get a little bit of privacy on the
Right.
phone. And, I mean, my grandkids can't, that's probably why they asked me about the pencils, because they just can't believe
Oh,
that we actually rolled up our car windows and
oh
rolled
my
them back
gosh.
down.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the things. And
I
there was a
think,
time even
Terry,
when
one
people
last thing
pumped
I'd like to,
gas for us too.
I think we are the first generation that has lived through so much change,
Oh, for
because
sure.
like our parents, by and large, a lot of them have passed, so they haven't seen all this new technology that we're experiencing today. But if you look at from where, I mean, we went with the little black and white, TV with the rabbit ears,
Right.
to today. And whatever. I can go on and on about that. When I was a publisher, I went to Stanford University for a summer course, and it was such a great opportunity because I was a really, really small fish in a really, really big pond with all the big publishing houses out of New York City. And you had to be sponsored, you had to be working as a publisher to go. And it was such a great experience. And a keynote
Wow.
speaker, the one piece of information I wish I had from you know uh, this summer course was, who this guy was, because he sat at the lectern, and he told us basically where we are today. And we sat in the audience. Well, first of all, it was the beginning of the demise of magazine industry, the way I knew it when I was a publisher.
Mm.
And the bottom line is that what we're seeing today is what he talked about. And we all kind of, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. You're going to take your tower, your computer tower on the train with you. Yeah. Right, buddy. Yeah. You're, like what Jetson episode are you writing for? I mean, the comments, and
Wow.
I wish I had my notes with his name in it, because I would love to know where he went and what he's doing
Yeah.
today, because
It's so
yeah,
true.
it's crazy, but we have
And
lived
if
it.
you yeah, I mean, I think when you say that, we are in the fastest growing era, and for sure technologically,
Yeah.
since even VHS to where
Right.
we are,
Oh my
right?
God.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
rapid,
The
rapid, and
eight
it's
track to the
yeah.
Walkman, to the we experienced all of that. I mean,
Yeah,
my grandkids think the eight track tape is just a, I don't know what they think it is, maybe a bookend, or who knows what they think it
yeah.
is, but a makeup case. They just can't open it. I don't know. I mean,
That's hilarious. I didn't even think about it until you said it that way, but it is so true. We have lived through the
we really have,
fastest
and
growing
there are
technological
women
age.
our age that feel as though they've been left behind, and I could go,
And there
whatever, on and on with
yeah.
stories about, you know, trying
I
to.
could get on a soapbox on that too. And, just learning it now, we're not behind. I tell
Right.
everybody, get on board now because, it's going to continue to move faster and faster and faster.
Ex
So, well,
exactly.
thank you. And before
Thank
we
you.
close, just share a fun fact about you. I know some fun ones, but share them with my audience, things that they may not
Sure.
know.
Well, I really do get such great pleasure out of watching all three of my grandkids play on different sports travel teams, and I love being in that audience watching them, and it brings back memory of watching my daughter as she
Hmm.
competed with her teams and did things. That's one, and the other two is that I really am a bit of a neuroscience nerd. I just, every time I learn something about the brain, I find that it's just the tip of the iceberg, and there's still
Mm.
so much more to learn. So yeah, those two things, from my grandkids to neuroscience.
I also know that you're a really good golfer, that you love golfing.
Oh, oh,
You
I
forgot
love
to
it. No,
mention
no, no.
that.
No, 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 no. If my golf girlfriends listen to this, they'd be saying, who did she interview? No, my handicap is at all time high at the moment, to be honest with you. And my game has been, since I've come back from Ireland, golfing for 10 days, my game has been truly in the dumper, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
But
So,
I know you
but
love to
yeah,
golf too,
not a
so
good
that's
golfer.
awesome. Yeah.
I have nice outfits.
Oh,
I have
there you
some golf
go.
outfits. There you go. I look the part.
Oh,
Yeah, oh
well, I
God,
know
but I
you
do
love
love
it.
it.
So,
Yeah, I do.
well, thank you. This has been such a pleasure. And hopefully, I know we are planning to move to Florida, so hopefully we'll get to meet in person at some point.
Yay.
I just adore you. It's been a gift that you've come into my life, not only as a client, but a friend. I always say everybody that I work with ends up becoming a friend. So,
Yay.
we
Well,
will
you're
stay
just,
connected.
yeah,
Um,
you're just, I could just say, I could get off easy and just say ditto, Terry, because I feel the same
oh,
way about you. And I am so grateful. It's my pleasure being here today to be a guest
mm,
on your podcast. And I wish you all the best. And I hope you do really move to Florida selfishly. That would be wonderful. And I want to cheer you on as you go, start your journey as a grandma. And that's
thank
exciting
you.
for you. And yeah, just enjoy
Thank
every
you.
minute of it. And thank you
Yeah.
again for all you do and your messages that you send out. I love listening to your
Mm,
podcast. I truly do. And I've
well,
listened to
thank
numerous
you.
ones of them, and they're just always, it's always a great message. And you are the great host on your podcast. You have great guests.
Well, thank you. And you're one of them. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for being here. Everyone, please follow her on her podcast and all the things. I shared it here, but Beyond the Glass Slipper is her podcast, and it really is terrific. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.